back. This is Ritha, and I'm doing another feedback and review of a game that I found on the All Things Zerg subreddit on Reddit. And it is 2 platinum players. They did not load it into StarCraft 2 replays, so I don't actually have the graphics for you like I normally do. I'm not going to load it up for them because it's not my file to do. So, and I'm just going to give them some feedback and present some ideas and concepts to them. So we're going to go ahead and spin that up. Here we go. Waiting for it to launch up. All right, LargeHadron and I'm going to butcher their names. We have the Terran in red as LargeHadron, and the player that submitted the questions, Lalfada, over here in blue. Lalfada's opening is a little bit slow with getting his Overlord moving. Not a big deal. Basically, as soon as you load in, you want to be able to get that first unit under production. A drone is the start. Just like every other race, you want to have your worker go right ahead immediately, all that good stuff. Oh, sorry, forgot to turn on the music. I usually have it on, just didn't do it this time. This is a solid opener. Just open with the Overlord. Get yourself a couple of drones immediately after it's done. This is pretty normal for a Zerg. Nothing too crazy going on. The Overlord's headed out. He does know that he is Terran, so he doesn't need to place an Overlord over here unless he's worried about a bunker rush on top of what the player's doing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and go back just a little bit because I haven't done a lot of talking about Zerg, so I just want to kind of open. It's annoying because it cuts out one. But I want to kind of talk about the philosophy around Zerg and when you send units and things of that nature. This is a classic opening. Basically, it's drone overlord drone, double drone, and then you're going to get a hatch immediately after that. This is a very economical build. Most players do know this build that play Zerg. It's very normal, very standard, nothing too crazy, and that kind of stuff. Now, I'm going to pause right here. You can see that the resource count is about 150 minerals. He has all of the drones he wants to send. He's going to send it at 16. He wants to be building it on his 16th worker. So this is a 16 hatch. So if you've ever heard of anything called the 16 hatch, 16 pool, I don't know if he's doing the 16 hatch, 16 pool. This is a very long game, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but I just wanted to kind of focus on the opening because this is a very important part of how your game plays out. Basically, you send your worker a little bit earlier to make sure that you have, you can push off anybody that's trying to block. So if he sends an SCV over and tries to put an engineering bay down, you can use your drone to push it away. And at 16 pool, or 16 hatch rather, you're going to be there almost faster than if they do anything, unless they send immediately. So if they had taken an extra SCV and sent it over immediately and blocked it, you know that they're going to do something cheeky, usually, because it's so early, they're sacrificing a lot of eco to do that. But conceptually, this is the timing when you have that 16th drone. You want to send it when you have about 150 resources. That's why I paused it right here at 149. Let's see, 150. He's getting ready to select a worker, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he has selected one. So he wants to take that worker and send it when he has 150. So it's over there. And we are watching his camera for now. The reason that you want to send it at 150 so you can scout a little bit around, make sure that you can get it down, push off any pylon or whatever. You also want to take this Overlord and send it to make sure you don't have anything behind the mineral line. The radius of this building is super tiny for your vision, so you just want to kind of be very cognizant about what's going on there. In addition, you want to replace the worker that you used. So right now we're looking at a 16 hatch, 18 pool. So just kind of being cognizant of when you're doing those kind of things. You want the extractor usually first, and then you want the pool immediately after. That's just how it usually works out with timing on what you want to do and all that kind of stuff for how the game functions. We are on his camera right now. The reason is that you want to be able to have enough minerals to build 2 queens, get speed, and also get 2 eggs of lings. So that way you can handle any Reaper pressure with those 4 lings. And the queens will protect the actual mineral lines, but those lings just kind of push them away. And eventually is used to grab your third base with. So we're looking at this build right now. He's building a spine crawler. He's a very scared player. Learning to scout would help alleviate this kind of concern. On the other side of the map, his opponent has placed at the gold base his command center versus placing it at his natural or forward natural location. The reason being is you saw him pulling his workers over. It's pretty normal stuff. You want to continue to build up your drone count. You want to continue to get income, continue to build queens, get creep, all that kind of stuff. As a Zerg player, you want to be keeping an eye on how many larvae you have. Basically, you don't want to be floating any or very few at any given time unless you're about to do a big tech switch. So the roach warren's going down. We got to be thinking, okay, I'm building a roach warren. I need to be able to build roaches as soon as it finishes. That's when you bank your larva. Otherwise, you don't want to bank larva in any way, shape, or form. You spend it immediately, usually into workers or the quote-unquote prescribed number of units that you need to protect yourself, which, like, you're looking out for Hellion run-bys, Reaper pressures, 2-on-1 drop, those kind of things that you need to be ready for. So the timing for the roach warren was very out of sync for what you're playing and doing. Which is not a bad thing. It's just something that you need to be aware of. What is this? A bunker up front? What? That's totally not normal. I've literally played like 3,500 games 1v1, and I have never seen a bunker out the middle of the field like that ever. Period. That is totally weird and crazy. At this point, you need to be having defenses for. It's actually about a minute and a half past where you should be having it. But defenses for Cloak Banshees. They will tear you up. You need to make sure that you have them. There are certain things that you need to be very attentive to against the Terran. Their first Reaper, you need to be ready for. You need to be ready for the 6th Hellion run by, and then you need to be ready for. Nice, setting right things. Banshees. You need to be able to scout which ones they're doing, so that way you can cut certain things. So you don't need to put down a spore crawler if you know that he's not going Banshees. You check his base, you send in your overlord that you sent over here or over here, and you flew across, and you saw that his starport doesn't have a reactor on it. You don't need to worry about Cloak Banshees, right? And you need to do that at about the 3:54 minute mark. I want to slow this down a little bit. We're going really, really fast. A lot of stuff's going on. You can see hotkeys. He's only got hotkey for his layers and hatcheries. Sorry, I didn't think about the term. And then he didn't actually grab his gold yet, and yet he's on 4 bases. So he's going to have a big boost that can come later on. But if you look, he's not spending 1,300 resources. At this point, I would go and spend that. I get hotkeys on all of your upgrade buildings. That way you can quickly get all the upgrades you need to do, so that way you don't have to float around and find them and all that kind of stuff. The spine crawler was unnecessary. I understand for me. I'm new. I'm learning all that kind of stuff. Injects have been pretty good. I would be building a queen or 2 here. You have a couple of queens. This queen's not spending its energy, so are we going to continue to creep? Make sure you're expanding with your crawling abilities, which I can see you're doing. APM comes with this. This is like a habit you get into. The cycle is basically manage your eco and your tech buildings, inject, creep spread, check your army. That's the cycle. Most often that's been used. While you're doing that, you switch out your buildings that you're going to be using for whatever upgrades you're going to get. Also, I suggest putting 2 or 3 creep tumors so that the spread is so much faster. Also, what is this guy doing? Why does he have the sensor tower here? Isn't sieged up? It's just hey, oh my goodness, I can't. I just don't know what this guy's doing. Again, you're expanding. Great. You need to keep an eye on your worker count when you get to this many bases. 85 is a pretty decent number of drones. You don't necessarily need more. You just need to make sure that they're consistently getting the income, not oversaturation. So you just check that base when you're there. And we're going to jump onto your camera so we can see. We're going to go back about here. You saw that he put out a sensor tower and you didn't change anything. He's trying to find out where your army is. That's all he's doing, which means he's getting ready to attack you. Also, that doesn't happen very often. Sensor towers are usually defensive structures to make it so that they don't have to place their tanks Marines and stuff in certain spaces until they see it on the mini map, and then they respond to it appropriately in combat, so that way that they can have fewer forces at home and a bigger army that's getting ready to push out. So, from that contents and concepts, you have to think when they place a sensor tower really, really far out, like they have. It's one of those kind of things that I would be very cognizant of and try not to. I would have my army in a way that is right on the edge of that, so I don't have to respond. Don't get yourselves in chokes. Make sure that you have the flank available. So, like, had you positioned some army, like over here, you came over here. So I don't know. This is a really hard position because this is like you have to go up here, or you have to go way out here and all the way around. I'd set up a counterattack. Set up like 25 lanes, just like park them right around here. And then as soon as he attacks, attack with those lanes, and then respond with the rest of your army. Don't have to it. Just do it that way. You're going to lose his base. Pretty obvious. You did what you could. You did fight into a choke, and you really put yourself in that position. So in this, to kind of go back to that fight, what I would have done is when you responded, you F2'd. He has tanks and things. I probably would have just sacrificed the base. And I would have gone across the map and make sure he lost some base. I would have tried to make sure he doesn't have this, whatever, right? Like, this base you don't need. Or set it up so that once you lose this base, that you already saturated this base. So you just pull all your workers that were here and say, we're going over here. And then you need to make sure that, like, you're being, if you're going to engage this, don't engage from one position. Make sure that you get on the tanks. You did nothing to fight the tanks. Where's your speed links, right? I think you have the upgrade for speed. You skipped it. So, yeah, use tunneling claws to get underneath. He's not scared. Don't slowly fight one at a time at it. He's going to continue to kill it. You need a bigger army. You do have the supply space, and you do have the production space. You may not have been injecting perfectly. Your injects look pretty good, other than this one earlier. So, like, speedlings are crazy. I would get them. They're, like, so powerful. You also have the space to saturate. I would have definitely pulled this. This guy looks like he's probably kind of knows what he's doing, but I would clear the sentry tower, send some lings at it. That's why you have speedlings. You have no information on what he's doing, so you need to, like, kind of, hey, here's a ling or two. Here's a handful of roaches that I sent across the map just to see what's going on. Because that lack of information is really hurts you significantly, because he's basically knows if you're going to attack because he has these sensor towers, but you have no idea where his army is. You have no idea what army he has. You have no idea what positions he has. That was a really good fight. You really took that. Nice. I think I've actually played LargeHadron before, and he was, if I remember correctly, he was, I was playing him in Diamond. So, yeah. Also, I cannot believe that, okay. Sorry. Let me kind of go back to that little bit of that fight right there. So you had, you cleared out his army in the middle. You needed to push up. You saw that he had a base. That's great. All right. This is what I wanted. I wanted to go like 50-ish. I can't get the time. Okay. I want you to look at this army and see what units are attacking. We're going to slow this down. Real slow. What units are attacking? You have these handful that are for vision. Taking out those tanks. Awesome. You lose vision, you lost it. But if you look, you have a much bigger and superior army, and you only have your front row attacking. So what you'll see the pros do sometimes is they'll move, command their army in, and A-click. And the army will then attack move and kill things. Now, I understand that you're platinum, you're trying to learn things, doing stuff. But had you moved this army in a little bit, and then A-moved, and made sure that you finished off these tanks, you killed this base, killed these tanks, and actually probably. At this point, this game was yours, and the only reason you lost is because if you look, this is your attacking line, and your attacking line was getting killed constantly. He stopped repairing because he messed up. He thought they were on auto repair or something along those lines. You can see they're not on auto repair. I'm in the way. They're not on auto repair. It doesn't have the little shimmer. So you could see it almost burned down. It got down to 50 health. Had you moved all of these in and then, had the volley of 40 Hydralisk shooting versus only 10 or so, maybe 15, you'd have been fine. Also, one of the things that I like to do is take my Overseers and click on one of them and have it A move against your Hydralisk or their unit that it's chasing around. The reason that you do that is because then it stays with your army versus doing what it's doing here, which is basically fuck all. It's just not doing what it needs to do. Because then these two tanks, you had one of the tanks die and then you replace with another. This guy has 12 kills. That's a lot of damage. But that's like one of the engagements, and this guy's just being a condescending asshole. I'm sorry. The other thing, you didn't check over here. He literally has 0 defenses. You can walk in. Again, you poked here, saw that he had a planetary, and said, this is where I want to attack. Fuck yeah. And obviously, that didn't work out so hot for you. Like, you could have just literally sent one wing over here. Again, I know you don't have wing speed. Reasons that you have wing speed is so that you can kind of check those things. Your creep spread is awesome. The fact that you are blocking his base, the fact that you are all over the place. Again, you're fighting in a single row, and you're doing the same thing. I get it. I'm not trying to hammer you too much on it. Your production's great. You have you have the map, but you keep walking in with all of these tanks. 24 kills, 5 kills, 13 kills, 7 kills. And that's a pretty good. Again, checking this other door, Nidus network. Anything to like come from a different angle than right in this chokehold, and using units and vision to make it so that you can get there and affect things. Nice job taking that base out. You could easily and should easily walk through this. And you did. I know that you're looking for feedback, right? So being hey, just double check these things. Like you can also gather these resources. There's lots of red fest gas. Eventually, if you keep hammering him, you will eventually get through this, assuming you produce constantly and you wait until you have enough larvae consistently to get through it. I would also upgrade your tech. Where is your Hydra Den or Lurker Den? Why aren't you getting lurkers? If you walk your lurkers right here and you siege them, like you just put like 2 or 3 here and siege them up, all of his workers die. Other things to think about is Mutus, right? You see that he's going all these tanks. He has a little bit of bio. That's a pretty decent amount now. But at one point, he had almost no bio. You could get just like 5 Mutas. Also, you're walking into this, right? Like you're engaging in a place where you're not actually able to hit him. You're just constantly hitting him with this. Put this into the oversight mode, so you get the higher vision. You can see that. Instead of attacking through this alley where he has all his tanks, which you, I'm sure, are seeing, come from this direction every time, from the top, instead. You have cornered him. He is in a rough spot. But I mean, you're doing a good job of like producing and incoming and all that kind of stuff for your things. Make sure you get 3/3, which you already have. Ultralisks will just completely crush this army. Tanks, Marines fall very, very quickly. And the 4 Marauders aren't enough to kill the Ultras. If you had 5 or 6 Ultras, you would tear through this army and probably win. Your opponent's on creep. Grab his army. You know it's there. Just completely kill him. Which, you saw it. You decided to move. Also, don't forget your Ravengers. Down here. Yep. Don't forget your Ravengers. Have them throw stuff at the tanks. Look at that. You eventually got there. Run up. Don't get caught. Like literally just run by. And instead you stood in the chokehold for ever and ever and ever and lost your army. You had move commanded here. Once you saw where it was, you could have gotten through. And you could have completely decimated all of this. And then he has no production, and then it's just a matter of you doing what you're doing, just ramping your production, slamming him with stuff, making sure your upgrades are complete, upgrading to other tech. Obviously, you're struggling a little bit with regards to what comp that you're doing. So it's okay to switch your comp. You don't have to be stuck on Hydra Lurker. Hydra Roach. Yeah, so you're just sitting here and attacking these barracks. Positioning great. Just you're getting caught right in this top of this ramp. You're basically attacking these barracks for like move command is okay to do in this situation. You did a good job of pushing him off. You killed off a lot of his army. If you look at the supply, you're way ahead. But you're trying to fight into tanks with ground army. Where's your brood lords? You have enough money, invest, upgrade. You can go there, right? He can. He doesn't have the money. He's got what, 1,000 minerals left here and another 1,000 or so here. He can't do a complete tech switch. He can't handle brood lords. Couldn't handle mutas earlier, like I had suggested. Also, I saw that you saw it. That was nice. Great job of pulling back. Try and A-click the medevac sometimes. That makes it so that the bio is basically useless. He has so many medevacs, I wouldn't worry about it. I would continue to make him spend his money, continue to put him in his corner. Nidus Network is great. The thing of it is you need to be able to see vision back here to get there. So just kind of things to think about when you're doing that. Again, you're attacking in a way that all of these tanks can hit you. Instead of coming up here and across, coming up from the over here where he just has a tank with 43 kills, 30 kills, 24, 35, etc. All you had to do was not come from this angle consistently. I see you're going Spire. Nice. So you kind of got the idea of, oh shit. Also, continue to move your workers. You have a healthy worker count. Just make sure you're not oversaturated, right? Take the units and send them to different locations. Don't forget your gold patches here. There's another 3,000 or so resources there. Also, he moved out of the position. So when he does that, why attack his army when you now know that he's not here? He clearly moved all of his tanks. You should have just gone through back over here. I know, I have like supervision on like up above and all that good stuff, but like these are things that you have to, when you see this army, like he's even on your creep, he's telling you what he's got. He knows that this is where he's at. He doesn't have anything. Okay, so mutas, go kill all the tanks. Where are your banelings to follow up? Don't attack, don't ever fight mutas against medevacs. No. That's oh no. He eventually cleans up, grabs that. You have wings, but I don't think you have speed. Yeah, you did. Okay, you got it. But like, you just gotta be doing a really good job with regards to spreading over the map, gathering resources everywhere. But you're doing a really poor job of attacking an entrenched location. You were attacking Marines instead of all the tanks that were sitting out. Like, you could see these. You can literally see these here. We could see them. So if you send 10 mutas at this, maybe 12, this is done. And then your Hydra, your Hydra Roach army that you've built 4 or 5 times would take out all of this. So if you had just gotten rid of all the tanks, you'd have been golden. That was your, you basically were trying to engage the best units against what you have with the worst, what he wants you to engage with. You need to eventually get to ultras, which is great, but a little late, little low, and he kites you right into that tank army. You definitely go after his income. You got to make sure he doesn't continue to get income. That's good. Nice, 2 units. You will eventually kill him, assuming he doesn't send all his men. Again, you have the full map. He, send a lane, burrow it, whatever, and he gets what he has to deal with it. Again, you're thinking he still has that tank army here. He just doesn't have it. So that's why it's like, do that kind of changeover and engage. If you don't know how to use Vipers, don't use them. It's really hard. You're platinum. I understand the thought process, but Broodlords would have been way better. Ultras earlier would have been better. Making it so that you test and probe versus just sending your army. Like, you kept sending your army through this door, and then you sent your army through this door a couple times, but you got caught right here because you just A-moved. You could have moved in and then slid in. This is a really tough loss for you because you did everything right with regards to grabbing the map, other than, getting some resources here. Okay, I understand that you're like getting broke towards the end. You got all your upgrades, you got everything you needed to, but you didn't do like 4 things. You didn't get lurkers. You didn't test other locations. you got caught in bad engagements and didn't disengage, right? Like, you don't need to just full send. You can pull back. It's okay. That's not a big deal, right? It's okay to say, oh, this isn't going well for me. Let me pull back. You also kept pressuring units that counter your units, right? Like, had your Hydra, or sorry, when you built those 10 or so mutas, had you killed all these tanks? This would have never gotten to this point because you would have not lost your army when he pulled back to his tanks, because his tanks would have been there. Killing 1 or 2 tanks and then pulling off and then going over here, running them back away, and then coming back and killing 1 or 2 more with those mutas. You could have just, you were fine. Like, he wasn't attacking you in any way, shape, or form, so you could just pressure him where you needed to and make him come to you. Other things to be aware of is, if you do get into a situation where it's like this super low eco, placing 1 ling burrowed here, placing 1 ling burrowed here, 1 ling burrowed here. You already had creeps, so don't worry about it so much with that. But basically, just starve him out. Make him come to you. And every time he moves out, you just kill his army. Force him to siege up. Force him to back up, etc. Also, make sure you go to the tech that's going to counter what he's doing. Broodlords counters this easily, every day, all day. Broodlords makes this really tough if you have an army underneath it. Mutas counter this, which forever and ever, he had like no Marines, could have countered it. Also the mutas would have shut down all the medevacs, so he would have never gotten to this ball of healing, right? Every time he was like, oh, I'm going to send him over here. Well, had you had like 5 mutas, you'd have just killed all of them. I'm not saying go mutas. I'm saying think about what they're doing and how they're playing, and then like take the units and counter and position and attack with your counters to their units. Tanks can't shoot up. Broodlords will eventually kill Planetary. The mutas will also be able to attack in places he's not. Like, look at this. He's got 1 Marine for all these SUVs. He doesn't have any turrets. He doesn't have any kind of defense. His orbitals, he lifts them, and you can, or command centers, he lifted them, and you weren't able to kill them because they flew up a cliff edge. You lost vision on things. Like, you did a really good job in a lot of ways. A very good job. But this was a really hard game to lose, I'm sure. It felt really uncomfortable because it was a 30-some-odd minute game. He was on 3 bases to 2 bases all game. And this is a lot of money, and you just kept throwing units into the same grinder without changing how you attacked. You even and when you did change, you changed it in a way that made it so the tanks could just crush you over here. And over here, you got caught, and the tanks were so deep at that point that they were able to just, you were attacking the barracks, getting shelled, versus going in and killing all the tanks or doing some damage to the tanks. It's really, really, really a rough game with regards to that. Positive things. Your creep spread, awesome. I like to have a lot more creep tumors so that when I select them, there's like 10 of them going at a time. It spreads the creep a lot faster, and it's more annoying to clear because you more often than not have to scan multiple times, or you have to take a Raven with you. But your creep spread is awesome, like great. You teched up eventually, awesome. You did try different things to try and get there, but unfortunately, either you're not familiar with the units because you don't play with them very often, or, and when I say that, I'm speaking specifically around the Viper, or you tried to like do a full switch over. Like, had you had just 4 or 5 Ultras with your Roach Hydra army, you would have face rolled. Had you brought a handful of Lurkers and burrowed them inside of the line up here, you would have probably won. Point being is I see that you're trying to try these things out, and you're just not quite there. And you're learning. That's why we're giving you feedback, right? So just keep trying those things. Using multiple control groups can make that a lot easier with your army and your spellcasters. So if you look, you still only have your command centers equivalencies, your hatches and your hatcheries and your hive on one button. Otherwise, you're not using any hotkeys. So how are you making it so you can inject fast? How are you making it so that you can control your army and split things apart? How are you making it so that you are able to spellcast real quick in a fight? How are you making it so that you are countering your opponent? Like this army right here would have killed all these tanks. This army, you need Banks. Had this contingency, just these 12 or whatever, 16 of them back here, Ben Baines with speed, this would have been dead. And yeah, you would have lost all these lings in front, but you would have killed all of this very easily. Had you set your lings and ultras over here, you would have killed this very easily. So you don't necessarily need to attack the thing that's pushing, because if you attack a place that he's not, he has to go defend it, because you might end the game by just doing that. Sorry, just feedback things. Other pieces, your upgrades were awesome, other than you decided to switch to ground and you didn't continue to upgrade. Not a big deal, just something to note. You know, we all make mistakes, we all forget things, little stuff. You got a lurker den, excuse me, and you never upgraded it, and you never built lurkers. You never attempted to grab the rich mineral patches over here. They are worth a ton, and you had spread way past it. So why not just grab it? Throw it on a hatch, grab it, throw it in a hatch, get your gas here, whatever, right? Or just long distance mine. You have so many workers that are just idle. You could have just sent them and grabbed them. I don't know the exact count towards the end here, but you did have a pretty decent number of them idle. Obviously, these here, these here. Use your F1 key equivalency. I rebound mine to F1 and I unbound my all army key, but just, you know, grab your, if you do Control F, whatever your idle worker button is, and then click on a mineral patch, it'll go there. That keeps them busy. But yeah, no, you did an awesome job in a lot of ways. You had a way good production. You just meat grindered your units, and unfortunately, just kept putting them in the same position, not even trying different angles, not hitting with different compositions of units, getting stuck on a ramp and not just pushing through it. Literally, just had you move commanded to like here and then A moved, you would have probably killed, like shift clicking, right? Shift, done, right? You've been great. And then you always attacked into your army of your opponent in a way that they wanted you to, it felt like. Good game. Wonderful job learning and looking at it. And you definitely did a really, really great job. I can see you going really far. Eventually, you just need to kind of get experience with those few things. And of course, you know, you keep playing. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.